Hey all, your OS reviews. In this video, we're taking a quick look at the JBL Tune 510 BTs. These are wireless Bluetooth headphones that are basic but also budget-oriented, retailing for $50, but often goes on sale for less than that if you're shopping around. I've seen them go as low as $30 during the holiday season. So these won't really break the bank and give you a good idea of what an entry-level pair of headphones deliver here in 2024. Now, if we take a closer look at the packaging here, something that stood out to me is it says JBL by Harman, and it's only when searching that up that I realized that since 2017, the Harman Group has been owned by Samsung Electronics. So this is a subsidiary now of Samsung and includes brands such as JBL, AKG, as well as Harman Kardon. So it's all under the same family. I guess in part that makes sense because for a while now, Samsung has been collaborating with brands like JBL as well as AKG on the tuning of their phones and laptops. Also, as a quick disclaimer, YouTube may compensate me for using the shopping tags in this video. However, I picked this item up myself, and all the thoughts and opinions expressed are my own. No one is approving or previewing this video ahead of time. It is my honest review. It's just if you purchase it using the affiliate tags in this video, it may help out the channel. Anyways, returning to the 510s, it actually comes in a couple of different colors, including the black version, but also in blue, as well as even a rose pink and white. JBL also touts pretty impressive battery life, lasting upwards of 40 hours continuously before you have to recharge them again, and it does have quick charging as well. So just 5 minutes plugged in using USB Type-C will get you upwards of 2 hours of additional listening time. So this should be more than good enough for longer road trips. Now, it also claims to have fairly good bass response because it is using a 32mm dynamic driver, aka speakers, which are obviously going to be much larger compared to the average 6 or 7 millimeters on wireless buds, for example. So a larger design like this should give you a bit more impact if you're listening to bass as well as drum beats, as compared to the aforementioned wireless buds, which are a little bit more suited for sports and exercise. These can still be worn, obviously, if you're walking around, but if you're doing really vigorous movement, such as constantly jumping up and down, that's where an even lighter design might be beneficial. In terms of fit, by the way, the 510s are kind of on-ear style headphones as opposed to being fitting all the way over the ears, as you can tell here. So the cushions are still going to be a little bit smaller, slightly more compact, can be folded down as well for even smaller profile. And also keep in mind, they don't really have active noise cancellation built on in, so it is just relying completely on the passive blocking capabilities of the cushion. If you do want true ANC though, you'll have to spend more for a JBL branded pair of headphones. They'd also tout multi-point connection though, using Bluetooth 5.0, so pretty up-to-date codec, and means you can pair with both a phone and a computer simultaneously and switch back and forth based on whatever device is playing back audio. It does also have a small integrated mic for answering phone calls, and obviously it's going to be compatible with any computer, tablet, smartphone, whether it's Android or iOS that uses Bluetooth. However, it is just the standard codecs of AAC and SBC instead of having hi-fi Bluetooth codecs like LDAC or aptX lossless, for example. As far as the drivers are concerned, it has a pretty typical frequency range of 20 to 20,000 hertz. That is mostly in line with other Bluetooth headphones, and the packaging here just reiterates some of the features we took a look at there earlier. We have the black version. One other thing I will point out is that these aren't going to be compatible with any companion app either, so there's not going to be a first-party app that you can use to control EQ or equalizer properties. If you want to do that yourself, you would have to look at a third-party app. So just keep that in mind compared to some of the more expensive headphones that sometimes has built-in app support. In the packaging here, we have just the headphones themselves and a orange accented Type-C cable, and then just a quick user guide. And taking a closer look at the design of these headphones, first impressions being they are actually quite compact, and also for scale, here it is next to kind of an average pair of TWS wireless buds. The average smartphone these days with a 6.5-inch screen, just for reference, and also compared to aforementioned studio style or over-ear style headphones, you can tell that the cushions will be substantially smaller and they will be resting just on the ears as opposed to being completely covering over them. Turning them around though, the cushions do feel pretty soft and nicely padded, albeit it seems to be some type of sponge that's wrapped over using a thin layer of fabric and also cheaper to manufacture compared to protein leather that's used on some more expensive headphones. So this type of texture over time has the possibility of flaking a little bit more easily after, say, again, 5 to maybe 8 years of use. But to be completely honest, these are probably cheap enough and disposable enough that it might not really matter if you're just trying to use them casually for, again, a couple of years, maybe upgrade that point to something else. But it's something I did want to point out. I will also mention that, again, unlike more expensive headphones, these cushions don't seem to be really user replaceable. You can't pop them out for washing. They are just kind of permanently glued on there. But again, just a quick note. Otherwise, the body here is constructed out of polycarbonate plastic, including kind of the hinge components as well if you extend it. So there's not going to be quite as many alloy or metal construction on some of the moving arms. Keeping in mind the budget price, I wouldn't say that is too unexpected. And for a, again, mostly plastic build, it still doesn't feel too cheap, I would say. Decent overall feeling as you're handling it. The cushion here on the headband, though, is definitely on the thinner side. It's not going to be as generously padded as on some of the, again, more expensive headphones. That being said, also keep in mind that these are already more compact and lightweight, so it's not going to provide as much stress anyways as you're wearing them. Also, coupled with the pretty flexible arms that can pivot in and out as you are adjusting the angle, still makes it a fairly ergonomic and comfy wearing experience, again, with those cushions as well. Maybe the only side note is I did feel like they were initially a bit tight over my head, but overall they are flexible enough, and again, the cushions are soft enough that generally speaking, I didn't have too many issues as far as comfort is concerned. One last point about the build I'll mention is the headband portion is technically using a slightly more premium kind of synthetic leather-like texture memory foam compared to, again, the one used on the cushion. Anyways, on the right side is where you have all the controls, including the power key that you can hold on for a couple seconds and it will automatically go into the pairing mode. You'll see the LED status light here also glow, and this is a multicolored LED that will turn red if the power is below 20%, and also green if it reaches 100% when you're charging. There's also going to be dedicated volume keys, and there's a little bit of a tactile bump that makes it easy for you to feel your way around as you're wearing them. The middle button here, for example, can be pressed to play and pause music, or if there's an incoming call, you can also tap to answer reject the call, plus double tap to trigger the smart voice assistant on your phone, and even long press for 2 seconds to mute the microphone if you're in a call, which is actually a pretty handy shortcut. Last but not least, you can long hold on the volume keys to also act as skip track commands. If you tap on the middle key plus the volume up key at the same time for 2 seconds, you're able to enter the pairing mode if you want to add a second device. So overall, the connection process is quite simple and straightforward, just going into your Bluetooth settings and you'll be able to pair. And one other subtle detail I appreciate about JBL headphones here is, unlike a lot of other generic, lower cost Bluetooth headphones that will sometimes have voice prompts saying with a funny accent, connecting, or power on, power off, that is just a little jarring at times. These ones don't have any of those, so it's just using simple beeps. It feels pretty high quality as far as the sound effects are concerned. Moving into sound quality and performance, I would say that's really the saving grace of the JBL 510s, because the audio performance definitely punches above its weight. In fact, I would dare say it's as good sounding as many $100 to $150 headphones I've tried, which is impressive considering these are a third or a fourth of their price. And when it comes to just detail, you're able to pick up a ton of nuances. For lack of a better description, everything just sounds right the moment you begin listening to music. There is enough detail and richness that it doesn't sound too thin when it comes to vocals and higher frequency instruments. At the same time, there is enough of a bass or kick with those 32mm drivers that drum beats as well as EDM, pop music still sounds really satisfying. Furthermore, it's very clean, so there's minimal distortion, static, or hissing in the background aside from just the music itself. So pretty good in terms of the Bluetooth connectivity. I was also able to play and pause the track, and everything was still synced together, even watching a couple of YouTube videos, even though they don't really have a low latency gaming mode per se. However, because the left and right sides are technically connected together on these headphones compared to wireless buds, so even without a dedicated gaming mode, it still performed pretty well for just, again, general media consumption, in addition to obviously listening to music and podcast. Maybe only one caveat, though, is that these are lacking built-in 3.5mm headphone jack. That might be due to just cost cutting, as well as the reality that in 2024, a lot of phones and headphones are just really getting rid of the standard analog port. I think that's a bit of a shame though, because it would have made them even more versatile. For example, if you're on a flight and you can't really use wireless connectivity, or if you wanted just to consume even less power and use that 3.5mm jack. Unfortunately, it's not something you'll find on the Tune 510s. But again, the audio quality here is impressive enough and punches really above its weight enough that I think it still is a solid pair of headphones at the end of the day. Because despite the minor quirks, including a slightly lower quality fabric being used for the cushion, the build again not having as many alloy or metal components to it, but ultimately sound quality is the most important part of any audio product, and that is really the part where clearly JBL put the most emphasis on, again making these one of the best sounding budget Bluetooth headphones that I've tried in recent memory. Of course, if you're a hi-fi audiophile, you can probably still nitpick in some areas. Headphones that have even larger drivers or even stacked multi-drivers can squeeze out even more detail on extreme ends of the frequency range, on trebles for example. But again, for the casual listener, this is already more than good enough, and definitely an improvement compared to the built-in speakers of any phone, computer, or tablet. So pretty good job when it comes to the audio tuning. But again, you don't get really any extra EQ controls or kind of a bass boosted mode. It already is very well balanced, I would argue, energetic enough without sounding too out of control. But if you wanted more granular adjustments over specific aspects of the sound, well, you're probably going to have to download a third-party app to do that, since there isn't one, again, built by JBL that is supported officially. Ultimately though, again, I'm coming away pretty impressed with the Tune 510 BTs. Yes, they are far from the most feature-stacked or most technically impressive pair of headphones, but honestly, the real-world performance is surprisingly good. So as long as you aren't looking for active noise cancellation and you're okay with not having a 3.5mm jack, I would honestly say the 510s are an excellent pair of bare bones Bluetooth headphones that really don't break the bank. So you can learn more details if interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the JBL Tune 510 BT.